There you go.
So welcome to the board. We will restart the meeting as we were very early in the meeting and redo what we have already done so that we will be broadcast. I believe we were taping, but there was a technical issue with the broadcast and we want to make sure everybody can see everything. So we will again declare full quorum present. We have all 5 board members, sitting board members present. And I believe there's an addition to the agenda. Yeah, Jake, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to move to suspend section 3.1B of our bylaws, which deals with location of the meeting, as well as section 3.3A4, which deals with the administrator's report, and section 3.3D, which deals with the administrator's report. Furthermore, I would ask that the August administrator's report.
Yeah, Jake, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to. I apologize. I ran into a technical issue here. Furthermore, I would ask that August administrator's report detail what would normally be contained in the July administrator's report, in addition to what is contained in the August administrator's report.
Great. There's been a motion to suspend certain issues of the bylaws and ask for the report to come fully in the August meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Been seconded and moved. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Motion having passed unanimously. I will now re-welcome our new members so I can do that publicly. And again, I'll start with Janet Millinson, who joins us on the board for her first meeting, and how much of a pleasure it is to have you here with us, and look forward to working together and in the future. And Janet and I have only met on the phone. This is the first time I've got to see her face, and it's nice to put the face with the voice. So thank you, and I look forward to seeing you soon in person. And Carlos Ayala has joined us again for his first meeting, his term as well, beginning July 1st. And Carlos and I have met in person one time, and look forward to that again. Spoken several times. I look so forward to working with both of you. And I think I mentioned, and I'll mention again, that I have had the privilege of being able to develop friendships with all the members that have been on the board that have lasted beyond our board tenure. And I look forward to the same with all of you, and specifically to our new members today. Just before I move then to the election of the board chairman, I just want to say how much of a privilege it has been to serve as the chair of this board since Mike Cogan aptly brought us through COVID when he was chair. And I'm humbled by the opportunity I've had, and just so moved by all of the people I've worked with, some of which have now moved on, who are still my friends, and some now that are here. And it's been an honor and a privilege and to work with you, and I look forward to working with you and in the future. But just thank you for allowing me to serve as the chair of this board for the last few years. So with that, we move to the election of the board chair. Yes, Jake?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And let me just say, your reputation was pretty high coming into this board, and meeting you in person and watching you work, it was apparently not high enough. So just thank you for your leadership.
Thank you.
I'd like to nominate Michael Summers to be the board chair. And if I might, just very briefly, Mr. Chairman, I first got to know Mr. Summers when he was Delegate Summers. We got to work together on campaign finance issues about a decade ago when I was a staffer and he was a legislator. And watching his ability to forge consensus and to get to the heart of issues in a way that, to quote the late great Thomas U. Mike Miller Jr., he was able to disagree without being disagreeable, was just a key thing to watch. And as I've gotten to connect with him over the years, and especially over the last couple months on this board, it is a quality that he still holds firm and true. And so it is my honor to nominate Mr. Michael Summers to be our next board chair.
Thank you very much, Jake. I appreciate that motion. I would like to take chair's prerogative, knowing Michael, and second that nomination from the chair for Michael Summers to be the next chair of the board. So We have a nomination and a second. Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, all those in favor of the chairman of the State Board of Election be Michael Summers, please signify by raising your hand. You are now the new chair, Mr. Michael Summers. And I think I now let you take the meeting over, right? Because you're the new chair. So you may now, we will now move to the election of the board vice chair under your new leadership.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This is a tremendous honor. Thank you for, and I'm impressed with the fact that I've been entrusted with this obligation, coming from such a standard bearer such as yourself. Thank you so very much. I am extremely honored to serve with you guys, to continue serving with you, Bill and Jake, and to welcome the new members and look forward to working with you guys as we steer this ship, the State Board of Elections, and holding Maryland as a standard bearer for the rest of the nation. And I'm extremely excited to hold this position with our incoming administrator, Jared Demarinis, whom I worked with significantly while in the state legislature, and who guided my knowledge and understanding of election law during that time. We were dealing with reform, and look forward to carrying on that tradition. And with that, it looks like as my first move as chair is the election of our board vice chairman, which I would like to put forth a nomination, and that is Bill Volt. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
It has been formally seconded. All those in favor, raise your hand. It is approved. Welcome aboard, Bill Volt, as our vice chair. Thank you so very much. I feel even more secure that this ship will continue to sail in still waters and through the storms. So, we are a very unique board in that we come to a consensus through deliberation, and it does require people to reach consensus and be somewhat disagreeable, to disagree without being disagreeable. And that's understanding where we tend to get to a better product for the citizens of Maryland when we are engaged in that manner. And so I really look forward to your continued leadership and the leadership of all of the members as well on the board. And with that, thank you so very much. And now we are moving to item 6, approval of confidentiality report. Chair?
Sure, thank you. And congratulations to you and to the vice chair as well. I look forward to working with both of you and the new members and having a fruitful relationship in the future to keep the State Board of Elections as one of the premier agencies for elections in the country. The first item here for you is confidentiality requests. And these are individuals who meet certain thresholds to have their home address and telephone numbers designated as confidential in voter registration information, as well as candidacy and campaign finance records, so that it doesn't appear on public lists. Now, I'm doing this more for some of the newer members here. As you can see on the form here, it is very limited. You have to be either a law enforcement personnel, a person that's being threatened, and you have to have proof of the threat, a member of the state or federal judiciary, a witness or a victim of a felony, or you have to be an immediate family member to one of those categories above. In front of you are 2 individuals who are members of the state or federal judiciary seeking their records to be confidential. With that, I bring them in front of you. Additionally, just to let you know, policy-wise, we always err on the side that the individual is automatically given confidential status. So it's not like we wait until the board meeting in order to do this, right? So the paperwork comes in, we make them individual confidential immediately because we don't necessarily know. We then wait to the board to make a decision. If it approves it, then it just keeps the status the same. If the board rejects it for whatever reason, then we would be able to make it public at that point there. But when a request is initially made, it defaults to making that individual confidential immediately because we just don't know this. We don't want to be in that situation where it could be a person that's being threatened or not being threatened, and not wait for the fourth Thursday or something like that for just your normal procedures. So just to kind of, just to let you know the process. So.
All right. Any questions? Seeing none, move to vote on the approval to sustain the confidentiality status of the two applications. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed? Seeing none, Jared, those confidentiality requests are approved.
Great, thank you.
All right. Now moving on to number 7, approval of Title 13 waivers.
So I'm going to give you a little bit of brief history policy for the new board members as well for waiver requests here. Title 13 is the political committee's title for disclosure reports. So this includes candidate committees, PACs, the central committees, campaign finance entities, all of them there. They are made up of, as you may or may not be aware, a chair and a treasurer that, are usually, they have to be Maryland registered voters to do this. Reports that are due periodically, they're set by statute when they have to be filed, and we give notice beforehand. We give a pre-report notice, which occurs 10 to 20 days beforehand. Now that notice is in the form of a postcard, and also now we send out emails to both the candidate and the responsible officers. The responsible officers are the chair and the treasurer. So they get emails and a postcard for before a report is due. After the report is due, we send out an email to them and a fee running notice, which is another postcard, saying that they have failed to file the report, fees are running, please file the report as quickly as possible. Then when they file the report, they get a bill from us, or if they don't file the report or they don't pay the bill, they get a notice to show cause letter from us. The notice to show cause letter basically says, at this point here, the report has not been received or the fine has not been paid, and they have 30 days to respond back to this letter to show cause as to why they shouldn't be sent to the state prosecutor's office or ask for a waiver at that point. And then we get waiver requests from them. The waiver requests process is the state administrator then reviews the waiver requests. If the state administrator denies the waivers, there is no board action on the denials. It's only when the state administrator deems that to be something that for just cause that the board has to approve or approve the waiver request with the recommendation by the state administrator. So in front of you, we've given you in the past some of the following facts that we determine what constitutes just cause from an agency policy perspective. If there's an administrative error on the division's part, if it was late due to extenuating circumstances, normally a physical illness or a death in the family, we have always granted that. If the late report is the first late report, or allows the committee to close, or contains de minimis activity, financial activity on there, and that the fine is, outweighs the activity of the account. Those are kind of, just causes there. If the fee causes undue financial hardship on the personal liability of the officers. Now, one of the things was we normally in the past, it was the personal liability of an officer. It is not. The committee can pay late fees now, but if there is no money in the account for the committee to pay, then it still remains the personal liability of the chair and the treasurer. So we take that. And if there was some sort of computer problem that may have occurred, but they still have to demonstrate a good faith effort to file timely. Like they would have to call us, we would have to have records of it. We have a call log, we log in all the calls that we receive and make notes in the files. So those are kind of like the rationale behind what constitutes just cause for granting a waiver. And in our form here, while we give them to you, we kind of go through it for you to see what our rationale is. Now, another part of this is sometimes the state prosecutor's office, so we've gone through it, the committee has never even responded back to us, or we've referred it over to the state prosecutor's office. The state prosecutor's office, as our enforcement agency, then has either done two things. They've declined to prosecute it or have cut a deal with the entity there. At that point there, then we bring back those committees to you for, I guess the other portions of it, because we're a different agency. So we just want to wipe whatever the deal is. We want to make sure that we wipe it off our books. So just kind of moving forward, or if they refuse to prosecute it, we don't need to have it carried on our ledger for that period of time there. So you'll see things there where it would be OSP, which is the Office of the State Prosecutor, and their denial. And all over time too, when they're in the process of trying to go over and go after a couple of entities, they have also kind of, there is a statute of limitations. And so we've, this batch here has included an area where the statute of limitations, which these are older committees, which were under the 3-year window there, have been, has exceeded it. And so therefore there's nothing that we can do to collect on those fees. But we have worked with the state prosecutor's office now to tighten up that process, so that this is kind of like an outlier, just to kind of clean up both our records on the state prosecutor's end and our end, because we have weekly meetings and we've worked through it and tightened up the process to ensure that more compliance has gone forward with it. So in the packet for you here is the first batch here, which is, there is 9 denials for you, just to let you know, that the board has to take no action on, but I just do that in there just so that the board sees that we do. You're not just seeing one side of the issue here, but you see some of the denials as well on that. There is 10 that we have recommended for a waiver in the packet for you, and then also the OSP ones that are in there, which is there are 34 that are de minimis for violations that the state prosecutor's office does not want to, I would say, seek any sort of enforcement against. And then there is another, I would say, we don't have the official list there, of another I wish we had that number, sorry, probably another 30 or so that were outside the statute of limitations. And these were older cases which may or may not have had issues with tracking down responsible officers and notices that the state prosecutor has, but they have deemed that they're not going to seek enforcement on these actions once here. So with that, I present also this, instead of going through each individual case, we would just give it to you as a in one motion there. And if there's any individual questions, I'd be happy to answer that, to pull that out. But usually we just kind of make one big motion to accept the recommendations as presented, unless, like I said, unless there's a question. So yes.
Jake?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Demarais, just a quick question. All of these are denials, correct? There are not any recommended for approval of their, or
Oh, no, only the 9 were denies. Everything else is for, I'm sorry. So the 10 is what we recommended for, and then the rest, the 34 were the state prosecutor saying it was de minimis fine. And then the other ones were recommended by the state prosecutor because they're outside the statute of limitations. And they're having trouble either collecting it or notifying it, so that they're just not going to pursue those matters anymore for enforcement actions.
That makes sense. Thank you.
So,
Janet, go ahead.
If I can ask Mr. Demarais, am I correct that sometimes the waiver includes reducing the fine rather than just saying you don't have to pay it at all?
correct. Right. Sometimes we look at it and there is a reduction, because sometimes we do have, like in 2022, for example, right, you had 2 pre-primaries, 2 pre-generals, and a post-general report, right? You might be late on all 5 or something to that effect. We might say, oh, you had the issue was in the 2 pre-primaries. By the time the 3rd report, which was the pre-general, that either that medical issue or something, you were no longer sick, you could have filed the rest timely. So we might say, yes, you owe $5,000, but we'll reduce it by 2 and you still have to pay the 3. So, right, it's not necessarily a grant or denial. There is reductions in there. Additionally, too, just wanted to make a point about it. Some of the denials that we've done in the past, one of the reasons is if we have already referred a matter to the state prosecutor's office, we deny because the state prosecutor then would be able to handle all the matters in one case. And one of the other policy reasons is even if they did have like a death in the family, but the report has never been filed, we will deny it until that report is filed. Because that's the ultimate compliance, which is making sure that disclosure occurs. So, we want to make sure that that's always there. Unless a report is filed, we won't grant it. Any rejections or any denials that we have issued or the state administrator has issued, the entity can always seek a reconsideration. And those reconsiderations, whether we still recommend denial or granting based upon new evidence that they have supplied, will go directly to the board for that. So you do get to decide on those. So the denials themselves here is not just the end all of the process.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Can I make a motion, Mr. Chair?
Oh, please. Is there a motion to accept the 10 recommendations?
Yeah, and I'll be more specific because I think there was some confusion. I make a motion that we accept the 10 waivers and then the 34 de minimis null pros waivers. And then in addition, I haven't counted the total, but the page with committees with late fees outside of the statute of limitations, where that number is. So I'm making a motion to approve 3 separate sets. It's the ones outside the statute, the de minimis list of 34, and the presented list of 10 for waivers.
I'd like to second that beautifully crafted motion.
It was very artful.
It has been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor, raise your hand. All right. So breaking that out, is there a motion to accept the 10 recommendations?
I don't think we need to accept the rest. I thought those are just automatically.
Right.
Oh, okay. So we did that through that vote, all 3 being accepted separate from each other. All right. It has been moved and properly voted. And thank you very much. We are accepted. We are moving to approval of Title 14 waivers. Yes.
So Title 14, I just is a different one here now. This is persons doing public business, and we call it Title 14, but there is another portion of this. It's a semi-annual contribution disclosure statement that is filed, like I said, by a person doing public business, and that is a specific term of art. That means it's an entity that has a government contract of $200,000 or more. And it's a single government contract, and it is at any level of government, whether it's at state, county, or municipality. So it's a $200,000 one contract of $200,000 or multiple. The other portion of this is if you employ a state lobbyist of $500 or more in a 6-month window, you have to file the same contribution disclosure statement as well. And then they're due in May and November. They have their transaction period is basically the entire month. So the May report covers everything from November 1st all the way through April 30th. And then they have until May 31st to file the report. The November report covers from April 1st, from May 1st all the way through October 31st. And they have all of November to file these reports. So the one difference is in the past, the board has looked a little bit, I would say, harsher on these entities because they are businesses with bigger contracts. They signed RFPs. So in order to do a public business of $200,000 or more, it's through a procurement process. It is in the boilerplate language that they have to agree to these terms and follow these reports. And Jake might be aware of, would be aware for the on the county level where it's the same, there's boilerplate language on RFPs that they have to agree to this as well. From Montgomery County, we always work with all the procurement officers there. So usually these are businesses that have either an attorney on file or recognize their contractual obligations with it. The lobbyist portion of it, the lobbyists usually reach out and tell their clients beforehand that these reports are due, and we have stepped up and worked completely tightly with state ethics in the past with trainings on making sure that they understand the obligations of their employers on this. It's not the lobbyists that have to file, it's the ones that employ the lobbyists. So these are entities that are trying to influence members of the General Assembly. So it's for just cause, it's a little bit, I would say, a higher bar rather than the Title 13, which is usually made up of Maryland registered voters, but also volunteers, neighbors, family members. It's a different type of group that is a part of this. Once again, it's the same sort of rules. The board is they only have to approve the waivers that are either reduced or seek a full waiver. Any denials, the board doesn't have to approve for, but we put them in there just so that you can see some of the requests that we have and just one of the rationales for it. We usually, are, like I said, a little bit on the just cause area there. It's just a little bit of a higher standard because they are bound by contractual obligations to do so. But again, if there is, physical illness or death, we always make sure that the person is there. But some of the other, I would say, excuses like I forgot or the person no longer works there, that's not just cause. The board, the entity with that big of a contract should be able to make sure that they're in compliance with all state rules and regulations. And by the way, the maximum penalty, again, for this type of late filing is $1,000. So in comparison to a $200,000 or a multi-million-dollar contract, as you can see, it's not, it's just to ensure compliance. The report itself, just to let you know, is a contribution disclosure report, and this details the entities, officers, the principals, the vice president, the CEO, and the board of directors for them, if they're paid, their political activity to state and local candidates. And it's just on one form, and then they have to file that, like I said, twice a year. It was initially, this law, Title 14, has been around since 1975 or 74. It was part of a lot of the good government initiatives and to Maryland's initial attempt at a pay-to-play law. And the lobbyist portion of it has been in existence since the late 90s, early 2000s. So it has been a part of it now for over 20, something years, the lobbyist portion of it as well. In front of you now is 2 denials that the board doesn't have to do any action on, and 2 other ones that the board has with a recommendation. One was a grant, and the other one was a reduction for the services there. From the payments, and we've reviewed it and worked with the entities there to make sure that they're making good faith efforts then to comply with the law in the future as well. And so also just to let you know that I forgot to mention, all the late fees that are collected from both Title 13 and Title 14 all go to the Fair Campaign Finance Fund, which is the public financing program for gubernatorial elections in the state of Maryland. So that's where all the late fee money goes to.
Thank you, Jared. Any questions? Seeing none, hearing none, is there a motion?
I'll move that we approve the 2 waivers for Title 14 as presented.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor? Thank you. It is all members present have voted in favor of approving the Title 14 waivers. Thank you very much, Jared.
Thank you.
We move on to old business. None being presented at this time. New business, a discussion on bylaws and review for review and approval. Is there any questions or discussion, Jake? Yeah.
Appreciate that, Mr. Chairman. So I got to first look at the bylaws about a week ago when it was shared with the board members. 2 things. Number one, I think I would request that we not vote on anything this meeting and defer to the next meeting so we have an opportunity for some serious conversation. But the second thing I would ask is the bylaws in several places reference the, trying to find the exact name of the document, the duties of the state board and state administrator, which are duties that the board has delegated to the state administrator. And I'd like to request that the board members get copies of that, and we discuss that as well at the next board meeting.
Good.
Point of information on that, if I could, I think we just voted on them, so it should be fresh. And what was presented to the board, it was maybe 3 or 4 months ago. And what was presented was a whole list of delegations, some of which were already done, and some of which new delegations we made. Certainly is the board's prerogative to review that and pull back or add to that as time goes.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Also, Janet, I see you are recognized.
Yes, you're right. The new list was presented not that long ago, but going through it carefully, there are a few redundancies or whatever, because I know things were tacked on based on legislation enacted in the last session of the General Assembly. And I think there's still some little tweaks or reorganization that would help and make it clearer. It is good to have the reference to, statute in there, but I think there's still, like I say, a little bit of editing or cleaning up or reorganizing. So I'm not quite ready to accept it as is without, more detailed discussion.
Oh, totally understand. It seems that we will be discussing and reviewing and then discussing in August the bylaws. If anyone has any recommendations, amendments, input, edits, please present them to all board members with a minimum of 2 weeks prior to our August date.
Okay.
So that we have time to review and possibly and hopefully move the bylaws forward for vote. With that being said, any other questions or discussion on the bylaws and Vice Chair?
Yeah, just again, a point of information there. I believe that our bylaws say that whatever meeting we would move to amend them, we can't vote on them that meeting. I believe that we move to amend them in one meeting, and then we would not be able to vote on them till the next subsequent meeting.
Right. Are we moving on in this meeting to amend, or are we moving? We're not making a motion to amend or vote. We're just this is for discussion purposes. Jake? Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And maybe the Vice Chair could help out a little bit here. I'm not familiar with the procedure in terms of whether we need to vote to delay this discussion to the next meeting. And then, as I understand reading the bylaws, at the next meeting, we will present and discuss whatever changes we have. And then that will be item of old business for the following meeting. So in the September meeting, we will actually be able to vote on the changes that we discussed in the August meeting. And so my question is, if it's not needed, great. But if it's needed, I'd like to make a motion that we defer the discussion of the bylaws to the August meeting.
Second on tabling to the next meeting.
All right. Motion has been made to table the discussion on the bylaws and been properly seconded. All those in favor? Thank you. It's been moved. Table the discussion. Thank you. And now there's nothing else in that area for new business. Then we move on to disclosure of campaign contributions. Are there any disclosures to be made at this time? All right, seeing none, thank you all very much. Scheduling our next meeting. It is notably what is that date? The fourth Thursday in August? Do we have a date for that?
So, Mr. Chairman, I'd ask that if we do the fourth Thursday, maybe we could do it earlier in the day. I have my younger kid's sneak a peek for his kindergarten is at 2:00 that Thursday, and I'm
Wow.
not to miss that. So
What, so, yeah, what is the, I understand.
It's the 24th
So-
right now.
What's that?
It's August 24th is the fourth
Yeah,
Thursday.
I see that. Yeah, are we open to moving it to the 31st of the fifth Thursday? There's a fifth Thursday in the month of August.
That's approaching Labor Day weekend. I don't know, is the 17th too soon or?
can I ask Mr. Chairman? I could do the 24th earlier in the day.
Well, I cannot do the 24th. I'll be moving my son into school.
That's it.
So I'm thinking
Can we do Friday the 25th? Or I don't think are good for the vice chair, if I remember correctly.
what does, that's way too soon.
If I
And
may
so the
ask,
17th, I'm sorry, the 17th would not work? Is that what that was?
I think, Mr. Chairman, the one thing I want to bring up is the 17th is during the Mako conference. So I don't know if that affects the state board's work, Mr. Marinus. I don't.
No, I mean, we can make it work. The only thing is that basically, in order to do the 2 weeks ahead of time, it would be August 3rd for us to get all the materials to you, which is a week.
A week away. I got it.
Yeah, I mean, just, to kind of, just for any of the gathering of information. So, and I believe that one, the August one, we have some regs that will be ready for approval because they have gone through the process. So we'll have to want to update you on the ones that are being finalized. As a new board, right? Because the old board had put them out for proposed. They've gone through the comment period and have come back and now need the board's approval. So you may want to review them, and that would give us not a lot of time to kind of prepare for those documents and everything.
Janet?
This is Melissa.
Mr. Chair, I will withdraw my previous objection to August 31st, if that's okay with everyone else. We're not going away that weekend, but if it's convenient for everyone and if the staff is amenable, I will.
Bill, did you have anything to that? Thank you, Janet. You're muted, Bill. Bill, you're muted, Vice Chair.
So sorry. My wife has a medical procedure that day, so I'm probably not available. Might be, but it might not be done. What's wrong with we didn't talk about the 23rd, which will be Wednesday.
Yeah, I was about to ask.
Does the 23rd work for others?
Yeah, I will be out of town. That's the same, the 23rd and 24th, I'll be moving.
And the 25th is not workable either?
The 25th is definitely open for me. Does the 25th moving outside work for everyone else?
I can make
Would that be 2:00 or some other time?
Well, we can make a morning or afternoon.
I'm just thinking
On the 25th?
2:30 or so for me, 2:30 or after, but yeah.
25th at 2:30 I would want it earlier in the day. I have something that evening.
I can't do earlier.
So Friday is 10 or 11. Is that too early for you, Janet?
I can't do it in the morning. It's not feasible.
What about
so
Monday the 28th?
Sure.
That doesn't work for the vice chair.
And Mondays are like my worst day at the church building. So I could do,
So,
I can move
so-
a meeting for Tuesday if we needed to.
so what are we looking like on a Thursday, Wednesday, the 30th? Did we discuss that?
No, that's a bad day for me though.
Tuesday the 29th, the vice chair just mentioned.
Yeah.
I can do that.
I can make that work. I have one meeting that I can move.
And 2:00, okay?
Yeah.
With everyone?
Could we do one?
Ooh, one's even better.
Everyone good with 1:00? Jared, your staff, your folks
Yep.
go with 1?
Yeah, because that gives us some time, and then we can get all the materials and the new regs and all the for you by the August 15th.
All right. At 1 p.m.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could just ask, when designing the agenda for next month's meeting, it will be the administrator's last meeting. And so if we could just add time for the agenda for her to give any remarks she wants to give. And
Duly recognized. Thank you. It doesn't seem that we have a need to move for a closed meeting. Any concerns with me adjourning the meeting without a closed session? Any objections? Seeing none, thank you all so very, very much. Welcome aboard, Carlos and Janet.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to a great year of service. And with that, if there's, go ahead, Jake.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Is there a second? It's been properly second. Thank you, Vice Chair. All those in favor for adjournment, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you. And you guys have a great day.
Thank you.